Don't you think we could refer to it as him?
The evil is gone.
Boogeyman, who's Boogeyman? Boogeyman, 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 Boogeyman.
The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either ignore it or you can help me to stop it.
And of course, if you've heard that music, it's only one thing. It can only mean the terrifying, the scary, the 1978, the original John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, Halloween. Yes, that's right. This week, we're a little bit late, but it's better to be late than early, I've been told in my life. So we're doing Halloween 1978, and I can't do that without 80s Paul and the very sexy Neil. How are you guys?
Oh, thanks, Stu.
I think I prefer Neil's intro to mine. 80s Paul. I'm either in my 80s or stuck in the 80s, which we know which one it is. Or could be both. Or Neil.
Well, I was about
Neil.
to say,
In fairness,
don't
he
say
is.
we know.
So we kind of try and stick with the themes, the way things are going. And we were going to do The Matrix because we want to get the third film out the way and done, put to bed. And but James can't be with us. So we thought, as it's Halloween, it's that time of the year, why not just do the original slasher film? And it's something I thought we had done before. We've done the kind of the most recent Halloween film, but we haven't done the original one, which I was quite surprised about. I honestly thought we'd done it. It shows you how bloody good I am, and I'm on top of the podcast. But so we thought, fuck it, let's just do it. It's absolutely brilliant. So it's a 2018 film we have reviewed, which is available. But this is a John Carpenter, and this is a Deborah Hill one. And I don't know if you guys had the time to look at the kind of the documentary behind the scenes on Netflix. Did you see that?
Oh, it's so good.
No, I haven't, unfortunately, but I will.
Red cross against your name, Paul. Tick against your name, Neil. Well done.
It's all about time.
Yes, teacher's pet.
It's really, really good documentary, isn't it? I learned so much. It's fascinating.
I did. It's amazing, isn't it, how this film sort of came about in a time where cinema was completely on its arse.
Yeah.
And they were sort of saying, don't bother going into the film industry. And the guy that sort of did it all, it's a fantastic tale. And the fact that this only cost $300,000, which the guy didn't even have when he agreed to do it.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
It is brilliant. And it's so good. I've seen this film so many times. And it was only after watching this. It's basically Owen Yablans he went down around distributing films. And the kind of the short version of the story is there weren't any good horror films, and he said to his wife, when he go around drive-throughs and stuff, driving movies and distribute all different kind of films, he says, no one's doing this film. And he was moaning about it, and his wife said, okay, if you're that good, why don't you do a film? So he came up with a concept of someone killing babysitters, and it was going to be called The Babysitter Murderers. And he kind of took the idea to John Carpenter, who was like a big name at the time, is writing a lot of films with Deborah Hill, who was in a relationship with. And they kind of penned this story, and they didn't like the idea that of the babysitter murderer. And it was they thought a theme that comes every year that all the kids are involved in. I want to make it more sinister, so they come up with Halloween, which they kept the babysitter theme. And it was the finance, and it was a case of they went to Mustafa Akkad, and he financed, as Neil said earlier, the $300,000 to make the film, which went on initially to making 70 million, which was I think still to this date, in comparison to money now back then, it's the highest independent film ever. And when they kind of did the initial screening, Mustafa said, really good film, but I've got one massive problem with it because my name isn't at the start of the credits, and I didn't even notice this guy's name. And it's only when I watched it since, and when the first name up on the actual screen of when you watch it is Mustafa Akkad presents. Then it goes into the Halloween. And I thought, wow. And all I know is like the Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis and those names we recognise. And it's an amazing story, isn't it? That how this film came about, and the cast and crew as well. Of these people, Assault on Precinct 13, I think was the first film that Carpenter kind of was known for.
Yes.
And a lot of the people worked in the stage production worked on this as well. And it's brilliant. If you get time to watch it, Paul, and anyone who's got Netflix and this is on it, they've got Back to the Future. I think you've seen that one, Paul, haven't you?
I've seen a couple, yeah. 100% I'll watch it. I didn't have time, unfortunately, before the show, before doing this to watch it, but I shall watch it.
And also, the story about Donald Pleasance is brilliant, isn't it, Neil?
It is funny, isn't it?
Come on, Neil.
No, go on, Stu.
Tell us.
It's the bit when they go to the sanitarium when they're with the nurse to go and pick up Michael.
And his drinking problem.
Yeah, they go to Smith's Grove Sanitarium. And obviously Dr. Loomis, and he's with his colleague, Marion Chambers. And they arrive at the sanitarium to escort Michael. And apparently he was really, really pissed up, and he'd necked about 3 bottles of red wine. And they were really concerned that he wouldn't be able to do the lines. And they were even more surprised that he could consume so much alcohol and still be capable of actually doing the lines and not appearing absolutely plastered on screen. It is just brilliant. And again, the things of how they got around kind of props, like when he breaks the windscreen, he's got a wrench which is taped with like skin coloured plaster tape in his hand, which he uses to break the windscreen when he goes to grab the nurse. And it's kind of visible on screen, but I've never seen it before until I saw this documentary. And it's the little things like that in this. And what was also fascinating was they were the first people. When you see the football matches these days, they've got these cameras that are built into them where you can do it one smooth take. It's like strapped to their body. And it's like the Panavision. It's the first camera they did that could actually have this. And it's 4 minutes of film that they could only film because they had to be mobile, carrying them around. And it's the first film ever that when you see the start of this, when Michael's going through the house and he goes and picks up the mask, it's all one take. Apart from when he picks up the mask, because that was the 4 minutes of film used up, and that to splice it, picking up the mask, and then he carries on with another set of film going upstairs, another 4 minutes, where he goes and he stabs his sister Judith upstairs, and that's done for the first time ever using these mobile panic cameras that could only record 4 minutes, and it's the things like that. And at the end of it, when Michael's dead, that they show the house, they show the hallway, the stairs. They wanted something to pad out the film and to give it a bit more of an eeriness. So they actually went through the bin to Carpenter to find these bits of film, and they added them at the end. And they kind of, to their surprise, it gave a really good chilling effect of the empty house, the empty stairwell and the bedrooms. And it works so well, but again, if you don't know the story, you don't kind of appreciate these little strokes of genius that work so well, and that the longevity. It's absolutely fascinating. I love stuff like this.
Going back to what you were saying about Donald and the drinking problem, there were a couple of in that scene where he's outside the sanatorium. He gets out the car and he's trying to communicate with the nurse as well. And there were a couple of things I had to keep rewinding. I was trying to work out what he was saying. And there were a couple of things where he was like, I'm gonna. There was like 2 or 3 lines. I was like, I can't get what he's saying. It was like he couldn't get the lines out. So when you say that, that makes perfect sense. That he obviously just couldn't get it out.
Yeah,
it's amazing, isn't it?
And he is larruped, isn't he? Because when I watched this, Yeah, go on.
Go on. No, you go, mate. Yeah.
No, I was just saying it's funny. You didn't realise it until I'd seen the documentary, and I watched it after the documentary, and I noticed all the things in it, and it was hilarious. But yeah, him being that, you can even see it in his eyes, can't you? He's completely pissed.
I need to watch it again.
Honestly,
it's so good, it really is. And again, when you watch the start of it, that's when you see this camera filming, the smoothness of the camera, and the eerie nature it gives to the film, like the cinematography of someone actually Michael looking through the windows and going in the house. And just to hear the story of, they used this film and it was a new idea, and it just worked. And the reason why they did 4 minutes was because that's all the film they had.
Yeah.
And it's great because you kind of think, well, this is editor's choice, and you think, well, no, their hand was forced. But it's so good. I mean, I love this film. I get really excited. I've seen this film so many times.
I can hear it in your voice.
It's just such a good. It's the original slasher film, isn't it? And they were talking, interestingly enough, the Friday the 13th. When they went to make Friday the 13th, they were like, well, all we're doing is reinventing Halloween because it worked for them. And I think the Halloween films have stayed, even though a lot of them, I mean, we'll go through the films now, a lot of them have kind of stayed true to themselves. I mean, it started off obviously the 78 Halloween, Halloween 2, which I've watched most of these this week, is the continuation. And then you've got the Season of the Witch, which is, it's just terrible. That's where they invent the masks, where people wear them and the program comes on and their faces melt. Your Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, and then bless him, it's the revenge of Michael Myers. And then he didn't have much more luck because it was the curse of Michael Myers. Then H2O, Resurrection, then Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is a really good Halloween. I recommend anyone seeing the Rob Zombie ones. Halloween 2 in 2009. Then you had that 9-year gap. Then you had the Halloween, which it kind of really reinvented himself again, but going back to the roots, where you got Jamie Lee Curtis back. It's a 2018 Halloween. And you've got Halloween Kills, which I've watched that quite a few times now. And they've finished the franchise. Be interesting to see how it works out in 2022 with Halloween Ends. And it's good because the Halloween Kills film, it goes full circle back to the original one, where you've got obviously it's some of the characters are the same, but some of them are kind of being reinvented. You've got Tommy back, who's the one who's being babysat for, and you've got Lindsay, who Annie babysits for Lindsay Wallace. So you've got these characters back in it. You've even got the sheriff as well. He's the father of Annie. And he's Sheriff Lee Brackett, and he plays a security guard in the film, where he's retired from the police and he's still in it. So it's really good, the continuity they've got, and it kind of goes full circle. I mean, it's like a bit of a Marmite film. You either love it or hate it, the new films, especially Halloween Kills. But they've really stayed true, whereas Friday the 13th, you've got him against Freddy Krueger, which is quite an entertaining film, but it's like Jason Goes to Space and all shit like that. And
Jason X.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Well, they did 9 of them originally, didn't they? And then they were like, oh, how else can we stretch out that franchise? No, let's send him to space, and then let's have him fight Freddy Krueger. And it's just, oh, come on.
Though, going back to we were kids at the time these came out, like Freddy Krueger and Halloween and Friday the 13th and that. But at the time, the idea of Freddy Krueger coming out of your dreams was far scarier than some fellow in a mask coming into your house. For me, it was like you dream it and you bring it into your reality. That was far scarier than Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
I found Nightmare on Elm Street far scarier than Halloween, definitely.
Wow, I always found this scarier. As well.
Yeah, visually, definitely. It was like when the girl spins around and is being cut up, and there's blood everywhere.
On the ceiling, yeah. You're right.
It's gory, but it's interesting because this one here, the guy that produced it, didn't he? I can't remember his name now. Stu, you were talking about him before. The one that
John
was wearing
Carpenter.
the one that was wearing the shorts in the documentary.
Oh yeah, oh God, his name, what, Owen Yablans?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
but basically, because he came up with this concept, didn't he, of how he
Yeah.
wanted to do a horror film, and he said he didn't want any blood in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
He said because he remembers listening to when he was a kid, obviously he was a lot older than us, that he used to listen to horror shows on the radio, and he said anything that was created in my mind would be far worse than anything that you would be able to put on screen. So the whole reason this film is, it's all suspense rather
100%,
than
yeah,
physical things. So there's very rarely you'll see any gore in this film whatsoever. In fact, I don't think there's any gore in this film at all.
No.
But he said that he didn't want it. You know,
I've literally just had that conversation with my father-in-law over a meal about Jaws. The fact that if you saw the crappy shark they created, you know, you could see you could see the dynamics of it and how it worked and stuff. What was scary about Jaws, and we've talked about this before, haven't we, Stuart? That it was what you didn't see, and it was the legs sort of flailing around in the water, and seeing the shark fin dip into the water, and not knowing what you're going to, you know, to see next and experience. That was a scary thing. And again, with radio drama, your imagination, and like Jeepers Creepers was great until you saw the creature at the end, you know, because your imagination, like I said in radio drama, is limitless. But the minute you put a budget on a special effect, then, you know, it's limited to that experience, and
it dates it, doesn't it?
It dates it. It looks crap, you know. Like the original It was great until you saw the spider at the end. You saw the spider at the end, you're like, well, that's crap now. That's ruined it for me.
It's still better than the remake.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, you're right.
Definitely.
Remake, terrible. But...
See, I always find this concept, and I think it's because I always remember the first time I ever watched this. It was my dad on a Sunday when my mum was out working. This was on TV, and we recorded it, and we had it on video. And my dad said, "You can sit and watch this. Don't tell your mum." And I was far too young to watch it.
Love it.
And it terrorized me. And I always find things, even to this day, something that to a certain extent possibly could happen, like a nutcase with mental health issues, wearing a mask, going around killing people, rather than, I don't believe in ghosts, I don't believe in anything like that. And the paranormal films, they amuse me, but it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is bollocks. It didn't happen. It's absolute nonsense. Someone says it happened just to spin the yarn even more. But the fact of someone coming into your house and killing you terrorized me even more. And to this day, this will be my go-to. And as you said earlier, Paul, that because there isn't any blood in this, and you use your imagination, that it terrorized me even more. I mean, I remember when one of my friends saw it, or one of my my father's friends saw this, and he was telling me about this film, and he said, yeah, and it's still weird, the things that stay in my mind of, yeah, he kills a German Shepherd. And I still remember thinking, fucking hell, he kills a German Shepherd. This guy must be crazy, as if it's real. And it was so much hype in my mind of watching this film that it really terrorized me. And I kind of get that nostalgia every time I watch it.
Oh, it's nice that you get that from this. You know, it's obviously, and that's the thing though. You know, when you're a kid and you watch things, and certain films resonate, don't they? They stick with you, and this is clearly something that's stuck with you ever since. And it's, you know, that's the power of a decent film, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And I think it goes to show that with someone's imagination, such as like the cast and crew when they did this. And also, you don't need a massive budget, as in like Star Wars when they wreck things completely, that you can get the idea right. And especially when there was nothing like this. I mean, and it's great that at the time, no one was known. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, as they should in that documentary, she had her part in like an extra in Columbo as a waitress. Yeah. She wasn't a massive name, but she was a massive get with regards to who her mum, who her dad were. Yeah. And Donald Pleasance, even though he was getting wankered most of the time, was still a massive draw back in those days.
He didn't want to do it though, did he? he said he'd agreed to it, and then after
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh fuck, I didn't want to do this at all,"
Yeah.
and that's why he sat there and got pissed every night because he just
Yeah.
didn't
It's
give
like
a shit.
He agreed to doing something, but I think he saw you'll get paid for it, and that was it.
Yeah.
But
She was in Colombo the same year that Donald Pleasance was in Colombo.
oh really?
There you go.
Yeah, so one of them was in Death Lends a Hand. One of them was in, I can't remember the name of the other one. But yeah, she was a waitress, as you said.
Yeah.
And then he was the owner of a vineyard, and killed his brother. And he was fantastic in it. And you know me, I'll always chat about Colombo.
Yes.
Oh, you love it, yeah.
But he was
Columbo
really
and
good.
helicopters.
And then helicopters. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but and Donald always plays a very calm character, but you can see this underlying like burbling going on in this character that just explodes in a weird way. He always explodes in a really weird, uncomfortable way, doesn't he? And you can see him doing it in this as well. But he just does it very well.
He's a great
he's
actor, isn't he?
got a definite presence on screen, and it's great. And
Pleasance.
Pleasance has got a presence, exactly.
Yes.
And the start of this is great. When you get Michael, he's 6 years old, he's going through the house. His sister Judith has got a boyfriend over. As I say, it kind of follows up on that camera, and they edit it when he puts the mask on. Then they start filming again, and he goes in the sister's bedroom, and it's unusual because for once we actually getting boobies in a film. And I asked for them the other week on The Matrix when it was really dull, and we're getting boobies now. And he goes into his sister's bedroom, and it's kind of like when I obviously separating myself from nostalgia to watching it now, and there's so much more hardcore now when you got Hostel and you got torture porn and things like that. They've got their place, and and a lot of them are fun, and I do enjoy watching them. Don't get me wrong, but this is, for me, this is like hardcore. This is what it's all about. This is your imagination, isn't it? I think seeing someone getting there kind of tortured in Hostel is fun, but I think it's got a shelf life because it's all been done before. But when it's like the sister, for instance, getting stabbed is quite comical. He's got a massive knife in his hand. She puts up no fight, and it's from his point of view wearing that mask. And she just stands there with her boobs out going, Michael, Michael. And he just stabs her umpteen times. It is the worst defense ever, isn't it?
It's the worst stabbing as well because he's not moving his arm at all ferociously. it's like he's, putting a little hole in a baked potato.
It's so literal, isn't it?
It is. It's like that, he was never. But anyway, it's
because he looks up at the air, the knife going down as if it's like, the knife is going up. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's one of the rare occasions you do see blood, and she gets stabbed multiple times. I think for a booby shot, to be honest. And it's interesting because he goes outside and he just stands there, and that's it. His mum comes home, and I looked on the internet with regards to I like looking at kill counts. There's some really good YouTube kill counts videos that this show, and it's non-counted deaths. You got Edith Myers off-screen car accident, Peter Myers off-screen car accident, and they even include the strangled dog and unnamed dog strangled and eaten in Michael Myers' house. So, is there any mention that his parents died in a car crash in this film?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
When was that mentioned? I must have missed that.
Oh boy,
must have come from Pleasance, surely.
must have done.
Yeah, it must have done. Yeah.
It's got you because Michael Myers doesn't even talk.
I think he did when he was talking to the police officer, when he was talking to the cop. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously we've got the cast. We haven't even spoken about the cast. I mean, you've got Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. You've got Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Stroder, isn't she? And you've got Michael Myers, who they call him the Shape, which is really, really good because they tell him when he's walking around to be in Michael Myers, to act like a shape and just move around and walk around. And you've got Nancy Keys as Annie, PJ Souls as Linda. Then you've got Charles Cyphers as Brackett, and you've got Lindsay and Tommy as well, the kids. And apart from that, the rest of the people are just cannon fodder. who get killed in between scenes, to be honest, which we
'Cause
definitely need.
A few of the cast play Myers, don't they? The Shape.
Yeah, it's quite good fun,
Throughout
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah.
They all have a go at doing it, which is great.
Yeah.
It's really weird when the parents come home and he's standing there with a knife and it's covered in blood, but the fact they just stand there looking at him, they don't, no one says, what have you done? What's happened? I
Michael?
want to go in the house.
Michael. So maybe take the massive knife off him and say, why is it covered in blood? What's going on? No, just go, Michael.
They stand there for ages, don't they? Just looking at him. It's just, oh God.
Fucking brilliant, isn't it? It's classic.
It is. And then you go to Smith's Grove's, the sanitarium, and it's, I do believe it's 15 years later. He's been locked up in the sanitarium. And it's 1978, and conveniently, it's the 30th of October. You've got Donald Pleasance. The first introduction, he's got this nurse with him, and the way he talks about, and this is one thing that's kind of constant, the way he talks about Michael as not being a human being and just how evil he is.
Don't you think we could refer to it as him?
It's
He
absolutely
refers to him as
brilliant.
it, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's so good the way he describes him.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Yeah, because the nurse says, can't we refer to it as him as a him, sort of thing, and because he's constantly saying it, isn't he?
Yeah.
See that he's just pure evil and he can't be released and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I like that because they carry on that throughout the like you said, Stu, they do carry that on, don't they? In the remake of this in 2018 that we reviewed, it was very much I can't remember, Mr. Dr. Sartain, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Dr. Satan, that sort of said about how evil he was and everything else like that. So it's nice that they kept that theme going.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they talk about how evil he is, but there's only him and this nurse who's clearly inexperienced, just going to take him to where he's going. And you'd think if someone that evil would be chained up, put in a van. I take it he was going to go in that car. There was no mention of him being taken anywhere else, was there?
I guess so.
He's going to be taken in front of a judge, isn't he, to be sentenced for his sins, basically. And when they get there, it was really creepy at night time with the flashing headlights. And you can see everyone else when they discovered that all the other mental patients have escaped. And this is going back to when you've got like the sanitariums and like the loony asylums, they were called back in those days, of all of these people. You had visions of them having super strength, being absolutely bonkers, and being able to tear your limbs off and just being mad. And it was really eerie seeing them in their white gowns, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is eerie, but you do think why are they going in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
It didn't really make any sense.
No, and why park so far away from the gate and then have to walk up to the gate? If you were that worried, you wouldn't get out the car. You know what I mean? It's so funny. It really is.
You say walk, more of a stumble, I think, to the gate. Bless him.
Yeah, singing as he goes.
Yeah.
It's great because when Michael attacks the nurse, and for those who watch this film again who haven't seen that documentary, when he got his hand on there, you can see like the wrench taped to his hand to break that glass. He still has to hit it with some impact, and she runs away. And again, it's kind of, I always thought, how does he learn how to drive? He went in there when he was 6 years old. Has he read? Did he have driving lessons? How does he learn how to drive?
I'm not being funny. It's not hard to drive an American car, is it? There's 2 pedals.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
Apart from a Honda Jazz, is it?
It's not a Honda Jazz. You need to, be a proper driver to drive a Honda Jazz.
It's definitely a proper something. I don't know about that. So, Laurie Strode, you then see her in Haddonfield, and she goes to the Myers house to drop some keys off. And for those who I mean, spoilers. So if you haven't seen the new film, I'm not going to spoil it that much, but I'm going to talk about it. That there's the conversation that's been ongoing of she drops the keys off at the house, and Michael's in the house, and Michael sees her, and a lot of people believe that's where he had some kind of infatuation with her, and through all of these films, I think or the ones that she starred in anyway. I mean, altogether towards the end, there'll be I think 13 films that they all believe that the ones that she was in, he wanted to get to her and he wanted to kill her. And what's your point of view with regards to this kind of being true? Do you think because you went to the house, he has a fascination with her, or she was just in the way and he'll kill who he wants? What's your kind of point of view on this?
I think it was just that. I think that he, at that point, he did have a fascination with her and he wanted to kill her.
What about yourself, Neil?
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the first person he's seen from the neighbourhood, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
The house to him is probably sacred because it was his house, and she's come over to it. So I guess I don't know why, other than the fact that she goes to the door, that he decides that she's the one he wants to sort of stalk, because that's almost what he does throughout this first bit of the film, isn't it? He just stalks her, and then obviously goes on this rampage later on.
Yeah, because they were kind of talking about it is evident that he does stalk her. I mean, you see in this famous blue boiler suit, and we will talk about it now, that the mask he wears, I mean, the problems they had with that mask, as we know, it's the William Shatner mask, and they shaved the sideburns, they shaved the eyebrows off it, and they sprayed it. And it was so effective in these films that it was so good that they couldn't get another mask, and they couldn't recreate the same mask to get that look. And that's why through all of the films that he looks different through the films, because they were saying that the mask was so good and it was just so off the wall, because they were going to choose a clown's mask very similar to the one that he picked up, but they just couldn't recreate the Shatner mask. And I mean, what a homage to William Shatner, I think. I mean, he's probably more famous for being his bloody mask than he is for Captain Kirk for a lot of people.
I think they picked up a few, didn't they? There was a Spock mask, there was the clown mask, and they picked up loads of different ones. They looked at the clown one first, didn't they? They were like, no, we're not going with that.
Imagine a Dr. Spock mask. That would look terrible.
just going around pretending to be a Vulcan, killing people. But because they repainted this, didn't they? They made it pure white, and then, like you say, cut the eyes out so they were bigger, so they were sort of black eyes, if you like. And
it's brilliant. Shaving the sideburns off, shaving the eyebrows off, just give it that look of just no expression, which makes it even more sinister. And it's amazing, the little things like that make it timeless. It really, really does.
No, it does. There's nothing like it, is there? There's no other. You couldn't do it again, could you? At the end of the day, but there again, I suppose they've all got their things, haven't they? Freddy Krueger's got his hat, and Jason's got his sort of hockey mask. So they've all got their things.
And I think what I like in this, and we spoke about this when we did the 2018 Halloween film, when you see Laurie when she's at school and she looks out the window, and again, they're kind of some real homages to this film in the 2018, and when she's just looking out, just seeing what's going on, and you got Michael there with his mask just staring. I mean, there's just something so creepy about that, isn't there?
That would freak anyone out, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Some fucking faceless man or person just staring at you through the fucking window.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what is going on? What is that?
And it's a brilliant idea. The fact that it's Halloween, the fact that people just walk around, probably before and after, wearing their costumes, the fact that you can disguise yourself in plain sight, even in daylight, just adds to the fact that it's so terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an easy way to get away with crime, isn't it?
Well, he
freak people out.
He hid himself in plain daylight in that car that he nicked. Even at some point in the film, Donald Pleasance looks around and he's parked behind him and never spots the car.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
He's got to be
Yeah,
the
he looks
worst person
everywhere.
ever,
He
hasn't
looks
he?
everywhere, but apart from where the car's parked, and it's an obvious car, isn't it? So
Oh, it's so funny. Do you know
It's
who you
brilliant.
needed? You needed Lieutenant Drevin from Police Squad standing there looking around with Michael
Yeah.
Myers driving with the window down, leaning out the window. And you've got Leslie Nielsen just doing that expression on his face. Nothing to see here. It's so funny. It's just terrible.
It's,
again,
it's hilarious.
When you've got
Have you
Tommy
not seen? Go on,
Go on, mate.
No, sorry, carry on. You
No,
carry on.
I was saying, when you got Tommy at school, again, this is another callback to the 2018, which I really enjoyed. When he's being bullied, which obviously no one likes bullies, that he breaks the pumpkin, and when the bully runs into Michael Myers, and the look of terror on his face is so good. And how does Tommy not see Michael Myers standing there? I don't know.
What, when he's following him in the car?
Oh, when he's walking across the playground,
Yeah,
and Michael
I know.
Myers is the only one wearing his mask, looking at him. But
Freak.
it is.
The interesting thing about this, though, was the fact that because of when they filmed it, they couldn't get any pumpkins. So there's only 3 pumpkins in this film.
Really?
Yeah. The rest
What
of
was
them
that? 'Cause
were
it was-
a South American gourd that was green. They painted orange.
And you could tell the one where Laurie's carrying towards the end is the weirdest colour pumpkin ever, isn't it? It's so funny.
It's funny.
And the one that he carried and fell on and squashed, I was like, hang on, I've just cut a pumpkin out, and I know that it takes more to. A small boy's weight would not crush a pumpkin like that.
No, it's
Apparently,
funny.
That was one of the real ones. So.
Oh, was it?
Was it?
Yeah, there was 3. The one that got squashed, but obviously that must have gotten quite old by that point, and then a couple of others. So
they must have put some kind of like, an A-team explosive in it to blow it out.
Yeah, Mr. T.
What
been there
I was going to ask is that, like, I've not seen the 2018 remake, so I'm a big fan of old movies and dramas where you have long shots on things to play the drama out and to suck you into it. And these days, as you all well know, that because film companies and production companies think that we are, or TV companies as well, think that we're too dim, we have to go from camera shot to camera shot to camera shot to camera shot to keep our interest, or to maintain our interest. And in this film, there was a ton of really long shots from the beginning to the end. So what I'm asking is, in the 2018 film, was it of a similar kind of like vein, that long shots, or was it just like interest, move with the camera shots?
It was.
It's more modernised, I think, really.
Yeah, it was more modernised, but there was lots of tips of the hat of this, the 1978 one. I mean, it was written by John Carpenter, and I mean, obviously it had the input. I think Jamie Lee Curtis might have been an executive producer of it as well, but it was done really, really well. And as I say, when you look at the 78 one, then you go and watch the 2018, they really do call out some moments. The looking out of the window, you've got, I think it's the granddaughter of Laurie Strode. She's at school and she looks out the window. Her daughter's called Alison and her mum's Judy Greer. When she looks out the window, she sees someone there. It's exactly the same. And you've got another kid who runs and falls over and runs into Michael. And they do real kind of nods. So if you know this film, not that you'll enjoy it more, but you'll kind of appreciate the work and the thought gone into it. And that's what I really like. And it's written by the 3 films, the newer ones, Danny McBride amongst others. Jeff Bradley wrote them, so you've got the continuity across all of the Halloween Kills and the ends as well. So I really like the films. I'll always be quite biased of them. So but they are good films. They're really good, fun, honest slasher films, which there aren't a lot of them around these days. But yeah.
It's worth a watch, Paul. Definitely the remake.
I'll watch it.
I say remake.
Sure.
I suppose it is. It's a follow-on, isn't it? But it's
Yeah.
yeah. I think it is good, but I think my issue with it is there's too many callbacks, because
Right.
it's just almost like, oh, we haven't got an original idea, so let's do another callback here and another
Right.
callback there, and it, like Stu says, he loves it, so very much he's going to be for it. But for me, it was a bit lazy. And
Yeah,
Judy
I do
Greer,
agree with you, mate. There is
Judy
that thin
Greer
line. Yeah,
is
she was
awful.
shit, wasn't she?
She is
yeah.
the worst thing in that film.
Yeah.
Bar
Really?
none.
Yeah.
Honestly, terrible.
Yeah.
I think I value Stu's opinion on films and stuff. So I think if you think it's good and worth a watch, I'll watch it. See what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what do you guys think of the two friends? You've got obviously Annie. She's the one who looks after Lindsay Wallace, and then you've got Linda. Who's the one whose boyfriend Bobby Sims, who later gets pinned up against the wall. I thought they were really good additions to this film.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, mate. I think there were so many occasions in this film where, in like, I think maybe in Scream and all the mockery films off the back of this kind of genre, play out that kind of like, are you there? Stop playing with me. Just trying to work out if someone's in the house with them, stop messing around. And I think there was too much of that, and it was annoying because I'd seen that in like the Scream and the mockery films since.
But this was the original. This
I know it was. I know. But looking back now,
from.
I know. At the time, when I first saw it, like 14, 15 years old, that was scary. But because I've seen so much since, and there's been so many films with nodding to this original, when I watch it now, I'm really jaded in how I see it, and it's kind of tainted,
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It does weigh you down.
You know what I mean?
I like as in kind of the characters. I like the fact of you've got obviously Laurie, who they talk about is straight A and that she does babysit all the time, that she earned loads of money, and the fact her friends, cheerleaders and kind of real party girls, and they were kind of not frightened to say what they feel. And you got that bit when Michael drives past, and I can't remember which one it is now. I think it's going to be Laurie, isn't it? No, Annie does. She's the one who later on gets her throat slit, isn't it? And strangled in the car. And she's the one who shouts out like "Speed kills."
Hey, jerk! Speed kills!
And when Michael stops the car, I really like that part of it, because
that's a good scene. They stop, and all the time you're thinking, is he going to reverse? But he doesn't want to show himself out.
Yeah.
So
you think he's clearly thinking, but he's like, oh, I could, they've just mugged me off. Should I kill him? No, I best not do it. But I like the fact that.
Yeah.
Oh no, definitely. But I like the fact that she was brave enough to say something as soon as he stopped. The look of fear on her face is, oh shit.
Yeah, and it's good that he's got his music, isn't he, as well? It's kind of like Star Wars when you've got Princess Leia's got her theme and Han has and Luke. And when Michael comes on, you get that famous, amazing score, John Carpenter. It's just like, everyone, it's just a really eerie kind of, it's like Tubular Bells. It's like the Exorcist music. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark. But again, Star Wars. Jaws and Superman. What film that's from, and it kind of excites you like it does when you hear the Superman and Star Wars and Jaws theme. And this is just so good, even though it's so repetitive, and it's amazed me and annoyed me. But when I watched Halloween 2 and Halloween, I think 4, that they kept the same kind of tune, but the way they kind of jazzed it up and modernized it amazed me that someone decided to do that. This is just so timeless. And it's really creepy that when he's on screen, they play this. And as you say, when he stops the car, you think, oh shit, what is going to happen here? Because they don't know they're pure evil. Who's driving that when the brakes screech? And they do shit themselves. You see it on their faces, and it's
tell.
It's just so priceless.
You know, they should always keep the music the same. They did this with Doctor Who. Like, I don't know, like Doctor Who music changes over time, and you know, when it comes to different series, and this as well, and other franchises and stuff. But if you keep the music the same, everyone knows and understands what that means and what that tells you, and it's a cue, isn't it? So when he stops and that music starts, you know it's a cue that things could start turning bad.
Yeah, definitely, and it's great because obviously Michael gets his revenge on Annie and Linda later on as well. But they're kind of walking home, and again, you've got the first one, you've got Linda peels off, and it's just Laurie and Annie walking down. And the fact that when they're walking, you see him, just the simple thing of standing behind that hedge, just staring, especially after what's just happened in that car. And you think, fuck, what is going to happen? And I do like the fact that Annie then is like, well, I'll go and check it out. And she even does that thing where she turns her back on that hedge where she's just looked down, and you think she's going to get it. And just that suspense is so good. Even to this day, it hasn't aged for me. I don't know what you guys thought.
You think something's coming, don't you?
Yeah. 100%.
But that's like I say, you know, the guy that thought about this film originally, he said that's what he wanted. He wanted suspense. He wanted you to think about what was going to happen next. He didn't want it just to be in your face, because I think, you know, horror films up to this point, weren't they? They were very just, you know, they were predictable, and, you know, it was probably quite, you know, either not bloody at all or fairly gory. But, you know, cinema was on its arse, and he wanted you to think about it, and you did think about it because of the music, like you said, and the fact that the music took him about an hour to write or something ridiculous. It was, but it is that suspense and stuff, and you don't really get it anymore, do you, at all, in films? Or I don't think you do anyway.
No, I think you're right, mate. I think they've kind of done a lot of things, but I do like, after Michael goes and the tension is still heightened, that when Laurie turns around and she runs into Annie's dad, the sheriff, and she scares the shit out of him. It makes me jump when I watch this. And it's the look on his face. He looks a little bit creepy.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then he says, well, I guess everyone's entitled to a good scare. And you kind of think, well, if this is a horror film of whodunit, he'd be top of my list. He looks really weird, doesn't he?
Freaky.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to kill her or touch her. I don't know. He's weird.
I'd go touch her.
Yeah. You almost expected, like, if she's walking away to check her arse out, you go, no, okay.
Yeah, just far too casual.
Yeah.
But again, you kind of, when she's at home, you can think, what's going to happen? And you get that scene that would scare the shit out of me. She's far too calm, of looking out the window, and he's there, right by the washing, and just staring up at her. And why doesn't he go and kill her now, I wonder? Why doesn't he do that?
Don't know.
Exactly.
Good question.
I honestly don't know.
Good question.
Because he's been following her specifically, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he doesn't go anywhere near her towards the end of the film until she obviously goes and investigates something. But yeah, it's so odd, isn't it, that she's clearly home alone, and he's stood in her back garden, hoping maybe he wanted to see her tits. I don't know.
It's really weird. And he doesn't go in there. Equally, why doesn't she think it's as strange that she's seen? I know it's kind of different times now, and people report stuff to the police. I don't know, like their washing machine's broken and shit like that, and they'll ring the police. But why doesn't she ring the police? There's this
It won't work, sir.
who's been staring at me, and now he's looking at me from the back garden. I'm a little bit worried, but it kind of gives a nod when the phone does go, and you think it's a bit of a weird phone call, and she's like saying, who is this? And then it rings again, and it's one of her mates. And
yeah, but when that first happens, though, Stu, like, so I know we've got back in the day before mobile phones, there were telephone kiosks or TKs, as people say. right. When you looked outside a window, there was no telephone kiosks. So when that phone rings and there's no answer, or there's no voice on the line, I think, right, okay, well, what are the chances of, this is what I thought, what are the chances of there being a telephone kiosk in the vicinity? So it's probably something that's not working quite well as it should do. So I kind of iron that kink out in my head, you know?
yeah, but that's when they ring up later on and she's doing that like dirty phone call and she's like, "Oh, is that you?" And she's getting
But
when her friend's getting killed.
Yeah, I know. But at the time, like, she's thinking, "Oh, yeah, someone that's on the phone that's a weirdo." Like, but in your mind, you're thinking, "There's no way that guy could get from a garden to someone's house or wherever it was back in the 70s
with some loose
to
change.
do that with some loose change."
Walk up to someone,
Do
can you
that,
break
yeah.
$1?
Yeah, all I want is a dime, man, a dime. You're right, yeah. So yeah,
it's a little bit weird. Again, when she jumps in the car and she's with Annie, and the fact they don't realise a lot of the time, especially later on, because they do go to the graveyard scene, but they're being followed, and how the hell they do not know they're being followed, and they get picked up during the daytime, and when they're dropped off, it's night time. I mean, what are they doing? Laps around the block, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so
found
funny.
another reefer to smoke.
I know, they're getting bloody properly stoned. But you do get Donald Pleasance goes to the graveyard, and why he goes to the graveyard, there's no real significance, is there, really? I mean, I know it's just to kind of tick a box for what happens later on in the film, but it's for Judith. No, Judith's the sister, isn't it? It's for his mother, and the mother's grave. The gravestone's been taken out and it's missing, and they blame kids. But obviously Donald Pleasance knows full well who it is. Why do you think he goes to the graveyard? What is the?
Before you ask
he'll
that,
be there?
that's another thing that, like, there's him and the cop that keep going, "Oh, these pesky kids." It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. Right? They're going, "Oh, these pesky kids are all fucking doing this and doing that. It's Halloween." But, like, you know, the things that they're trying to explain away are not what kids would do. Oh, but this kid's dug up this fucking grave. Of course it hasn't.
Do you know what's so funny? What it reminded me of, that especially in the 2018 one, when you've got the sheriff, you've got the mayor, sorry, and every time they're going, "It's Michael," and people are fucking hanging out of windows, their heads cut off, and they've got those Max torches stuck in their heads, and their heads are like lanterns. That he reminded me of the sheriff of the mayor of Jaws, where he goes, "Nothing's wrong. We want people to come to the beaches." And, there's people being eaten and limbs being washed up. They could have
keep on coming.
Yeah,
stop scaring everyone.
The same mayor in Haddonfield they did in Jaws, because it's absolutely in ultimate denial that there's something wrong. It's so funny. But again, when they're getting followed,
it sounds like the government. Everything's fine. Everything's fine in the UK. Yeah, idiots.
But they're being followed, and he's really up at his arse when they're driving, and he's obviously wearing that mask, and they don't look and find it weird. It's so funny. And as I say, they're driving around, and the really brilliant bit is when they go to the hardware shop that's been broken into, and you've got the alarm going off, and then you have Loomis turn up. And as you said earlier, guys, it's so tropey and funny that he kind of senses something's not right. And you manage to have Michael drive past, stick his middle finger up, and just laugh at him.
But Stu, that was my point, right? That was one of the things that the cop leans into the window of the girl's car, right? And they just had a joint, haven't they? And that car's gonna fucking stink of weed.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, my dad," and she goes, he puts his head in the car, and he goes, "Yeah, some kids have broken into the hardware store."
Did you watch Scooby-Doo, actually?
Yeah, no. Yeah. She's like, "What are they taking?" He's like, "Oh, rope and an axe, or like the fucking go kit, for a kidnap. Oh, the kids are taking an axe, and you know what these kids are like, right?
Yeah, digging up gravestones all the time and axes.
I was laughing, mate. I was laughing, thinking kids would steal like fucking sweets and like maybe a vape, these days. But,
it is so funny, isn't it? As you say, if they went through the crimes that day and started ticking the boxes and they still couldn't guess, something bad is going to happen. But no, they just blame it on these pesky kids. But
these pesky kids, right?
I love it when Loomis is there chatting to the copper, and then Michael just drives past him in the car.
Yeah, I know. Cooey.
It's so funny now when you watch it. It's just so funny. It really, really is.
Genius.
Yeah. Oh, I just love it. But what I do like is that when they do go to, obviously the girls are babysitting, and you've got Laurie, as I said, babysitting Tommy. You've got Annie, who's babysitting Lindsay, and she's going to go and pick her boyfriend up, Paul, later on. And you've got Linda, who's just a basic nymph, who's got her boyfriend Bobby turns up in, looks like Scooby-Doo's van. It's really, really weird. He just pulls up. He's stoned. So they're kind of on the night towards the end of this film, as we'll obviously talk about in more depth, they do split up. But when you've got, before that happens, you have Loomis and the sheriff go to Michael Myers' house. And I kind of always wonder, back in those days, of how much power and how much presence a doctor actually has in a sanitarium, where he can tell a police officer what to do, and he carries a gun and he can run around waving a gun around. But bearing in mind, he is just a doctor. He's got quite a lot of power, isn't he?
Oh, yes, because even he turns around, doesn't he? The copper goes, I'll put in, whatever, an APB out, and we'll get... Oh, no, don't do that. We don't want to alert him. So what do you mean you don't want to alert him? You want to find this bloke? Surely you're saying he's pure evil. Oh, no, don't tell anyone that he's here. Don't do that.
No, why would you want to do that?
Let's see where it happens first.
Yeah.
Even though he's pure evil, and there's a dead dog that he's eaten in the house.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's fine.
See how it plays out. Trust me. Yeah. I'll go there on my own, investigate. Let's split up.
I'm going to ignore that sanitarium car that's parked right behind me, even though I've been stood here for over an hour.
If anyone's going to find him, I am.
It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. But and what I do like in this is that they talk about Michael Myers looking out of the window, and they talk about where it happened, of where he killed Judith, and they make a real big point out of this in the Halloween Kills film, and they kind of refer to the fact that he's looking out on Haddonfield, and they say that it's a town where nothing happens. So they keep referring to that, and they're saying that he looks out the window because he's looking at himself, and kind of retrospectively, that's what he's looking at. And they're saying in the later films that he isn't after Jamie Lee Curtis. They're saying because he went and killed loads of people, and obviously went and killed her because she was there. And in the 2018 film, they kind of pitched it Michael against Jamie Lee Curtis. But if you remember, it was that Dr. Sartain who took Michael there wanted to see what his reaction was. It wasn't the fact that Michael sought her out. And they kind of point that out in the last film, or the latest film, Halloween Kills, where she's in a hospital and she said, Michael's going to get me. He's going to come to the hospital. Don't look for him. And in fact, he just goes to his house again and he just kills shitloads of people. I think the kill count's 23 or 22 in that film. That he just kills shitloads of people on the way there. And they ask the question, was he ever obsessed with Jamie Lee Curtis, or was it the fact that, and there is a massive worry that in the final film, if it is going to be the final one, that they're going to give a reason as to why he is the way he is, because they kind of go on about the more people he kills and the more powerful he gets, like a spirit rather than a human. And they're worried now, like the fans are, and it's kind of been mentioned of it. That, are they going to go back to, well, he was sexually assaulted and that's why he did what he did, and make it a bit kind of woke and a point to it and destroy years of fantastic films? And that is a massive concern that they do that. I hope they don't. I'd rather them keep it. He's just pure evil, and
it's
he
like
can't
most
be
things,
understood.
isn't it? Yeah, it's just, he's just evil.
He is.
It's like other horror films that have happened previously. They're just pure evil, like Damien and stuff like that. There's no rhyme or reason to it. He's just the devil incarnate, and it would be a shame. But I do think it's more after obviously this first film. I think it is more that Laurie's obsessed with him than he is with her. Completely agree with that, because she's always the one. Like in the 2018 one, obviously they ignore any of the other films, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's this one, and then it goes straight to that one. And in that time, she's basically trained herself and her daughter for his arrival.
Yeah.
But like you say, he would never have arrived there unless that
Sartain did it. Yeah.
Dr. Sartain allowed him to escape and return home. But he wasn't returning for her. He was just returning back there, wasn't he?
Yeah,
so,
it's interesting. It really, the way it plays it out, and I quite like that about the other film. But I mean, in this one, when you've got, I think I could be wrong. I think it's Annie who bites it first. When she is in the kitchen and she's organising what are people doing, and she's obviously the boyfriend's going to be on the nest later on, but the dog is barking. You've got that German Shepherd, and again, it kind of flicks in between houses, kind of building the tension. And you've got Tommy, and I love the fact that Tommy looks out the window and sees that shape standing there, looking really sinister, and that Jamie Lee Curtis again and again tells him, "Shut up! You're an irritating little kid. You're a whiny little shit, and he isn't the boogeyman."
Yeah, I know. Considering she's already seen a creepy guy driving around in the car outside the school in her back garden.
Yeah.
Hiding behind a hedge, and the kid turns around and says, "Oh, there's a creepy guy outside." Surely, she's just, it's almost like none of that's happened.
You'd say, what did he look like? Wearing a white mask and a blue boiler suit. Fuck, that's the same geezer.
Yeah.
That's the boogeyman.
It's a bit too much now. Maybe I should phone my best friend's dad, who's the sheriff, and let him know, when I could have done that earlier. Why would I do that? When I accidentally bumped into him. Oh yeah, I'm so freaked out because I keep seeing this guy in a mask. Oh no, I'll just, maybe
I'll leave it
because he's a pervert. I don't know.
It's good when you've got the kind of the build up to the very slow build up to the first kill, Annie, when she spills stuff down herself, and she needs to go out to the tumble dryer, which is outside. You've got Michael who knocks that basket off, and she realizes that someone's outside, but not enough to think, sod it, I'll go outside anyway, half naked. And then the dog goes out, and he kills that dog, and that's when you realize that he's kind of like, it's just a monster, isn't he? I hate animal death, especially dogs. I'd rather the children die in this film than any animals die, and it's just mental. He strangles that German Shepherd. I think it would have been good if that German Shepherd, it would have had gone to have a go at him, but he kind of just cowers and backs away. I would have liked that more, especially as he wouldn't have died and the dog ran away. But it would have shown that an aggressive animal like a German Shepherd was even scared of this evil that was in front of him. I think that would have been good.
No, that could have been a good take on it, definitely. But
Did
you
you
can understand why they did it, because
100%.
Because that's why police use them and stuff like that, isn't it? Because they are ferocious.
But it's so impactful. Yeah. But
did
you think Tommy was an annoying little fucker? Did you?
No,
or not?
I don't know. I don't. I'm a bit like you. Sometimes kids in films piss you off, and I know they certainly pee you off, don't they? So
I thought he was all right, to be honest. I thought he did what he had to do. Bearing in mind it was Halloween, which is back then, obviously, it's very scary. Now it's very commercial, and it's I hate Halloween anyway. I hate firework night. I think it's all shit and a waste of money. But it's that he was terrified because of what he saw, and he's clearly terrified because of Halloween anyway, and he hates horror films. So I thought he got the mood kind of right, and I think that his kind of hysteria that he had fits in really well of the tension of, especially when you've got Annie who goes after, you see Tommy kind of panic, you see Annie on her own in the garage with Michael just staring at her outside, and it's just that countdown to when is she going to die. You know she's going to die. And it's when, how, and how grisly is it going to be. And I think it's played out really well, especially when she's standing with her back to an open door, or they leave half the screen empty for it to be filled by Michael, which a lot of the time it isn't. This suspense, I can't remember which one of you, I think you, Neil, said that he didn't want any blood in this. No. And the fact that it plays with your mind the way it does, it's brilliant, isn't it? Because if they would have had him standing there with a knife dripping in blood, or something else, him holding that dead dog up or something like that, it just wouldn't have been as effective. It would have been shocking, but the fact that you don't know what's going to happen and you're waiting for it is awful. I was pretty confident watching this, even back in the day, that the girls wouldn't, like the kids wouldn't get it. Would you? Or did you think they stood a chance?
I didn't think they killed the children, but it's true though with the suspense side of it, because he could quite easily have killed her, couldn't he?
Yeah.
In that sort of outhouse where she's doing the laundry, he stood by the door. There's no one around, and it's almost like he enjoys playing with them, you know, scaring them.
There was a ton of opportunity, wasn't there? A ton of opportunity. Yeah.
Massively, and he just decides to lock her in there instead.
Yeah, and you get that because she's locked in there, then she's stuck halfway out, and Lindsay has to come out and rescue her. And even for a moment, when Lindsay's outside the garage trying to get in, you kind of think, is he going to get her? I mean, what's he going to do? And they kind of leave it open because you don't know on your initial viewing of just how far they're willing to push this back in 1978. And you've got, when she's out the window just with her arse in the air, you kind of think, is her throat going to be cut? Is she going to have a head? And again, it's your mind deciding these factors of what could possibly happen. Exactly. And again, none of it is. And she goes back and she's on the phone with, I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis, I think she's speaking to. No, she's speaking to her boyfriend, I think, isn't she? She's arranging to pick Paul up, which is ultimately a downfall. So she arranges for the girl, Lindsay, she's babysitting with, to go over to Moni Tommy's house. And I wasn't sure whether initially he was dressed as Luke Skywalker, but he's an astronaut, isn't he?
He's an astronaut, yeah. Yeah, I thought that, but he's an astronaut.
He's got that Luke haircut.
But there again, so is Luke Skywalker.
That's very true. That's very true.
I think one of the things that annoys me about watching the female responses to the threat is when they, I think I said before, the way they're like, is that you? You're playing, are you playing with me? Are you there? And just the way they respond to it is like is it overacting, or is it just, I don't know, just the way they act? It's not. It's annoying. I think it's done for.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a very simple way and a very basic way to get the audience kind of pull them back in and get them kind of involved again, isn't it? And it's kind of like a Punch and Judy is behind you. Yeah, it is. Forced, though,
you wouldn't in that situation. You would not say, "Oh, is that you?" Oh, put the fucking light on for a start.
No one does. No one does in this.
Stop playing with me. It's annoying. It annoys me.
Oh, it's pure pantomime. It really is. And again,
that's the horror trope, though, isn't it? That is the
You're
horror
right.
film trope.
It is, and they've done it ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, as you said earlier, Paul, which is done so well in Scream that when they kind of highlight the rules, and again they break so many rules in this. You've got the girls are having sex, the girls and the boys who are smoking drugs, which are massive no-nos in films, and people don't turn the lights on, and you go off on your own and you swear, and if you do any of those things, all of these which Laurie doesn't do, and she's the one, funny enough, who survives. But you've got Annie who goes to the car when it's locked, she goes back again, it's unlocked. And for us audience, who are fully aware of this, you're like, oh my God, the car's unlocked. That means someone is in the car. And to be fair, I love this film. Her death, her facial expressions when Michael comes behind and she realizes that the car's inside is all kind of smeared up and strangles her. She pulls so many funny looks on her face of being strangled.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's brilliant.
I didn't know if she was being strangled or,
Yeah,
Something else.
yeah. Or Michael was there performing cunnilingus on her.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know throughout the
She
film,
even smiled.
throughout the film, Jamie Lee Curtis and annoying like whining and stuff. Just that did wind me up for a bit, like and moaning and like. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I agree with you. Towards the end, when he's had that fight with her, and after the scene with the knitting needles, when she, it sounds like that. As an invisible man there actually having sex with her at the time because she's making so many strange noises. But it's great when you get when after Annie bites the dust, he gets her throat cut, and that is her done. And it's a good death. But you got Michael hiding from Lindsay. Tommy hiding from Lindsay. And when he looks out the window, the poor little kid again sees Michael walking past, carrying Annie's body. And again, he freaks out. And again, no one believes him.
No. So, your sister's being carried into a house. It looks like she's dead. Oh, that's all right. You're talking nonsense, Tommy. Shut up, man.
Funny. It's so good. And again, the humour in this, Donald Pleasance must have been pissed up when he was doing this. When the kids go to the Myers house and he's hiding in that hedge. It's so funny. And you get Lonnie there who's going to go into the house. And he's being egged on. And Donald Pleasance hiding there. He whispers, "Get your ass away." Or the kids run away.
Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
It's such a good moment. It's such an arsehole. Oh. And then the sheriff's there, scares the shit out of Loomis. Oh, it's so funny. I love that bit. It is quite funny. Loomis is a man who's on the edge. I tell you, he must be a bundle of nerves, I tell you.
Oh, it's just a little smirk he gives, doesn't he? Like, ha, I got him. And then the sheriff just puts his hand on his shoulder and he just jumps 10 foot in the air. It's like, you fucker. You got me.
You know, what do you think? I thought when Tommy turns up, when he's with Lindsay, man, Tommy, if this was a stud back in those days in the 70s, I would have just been well out of it, honestly. His massive hair, his massive glasses. He looks about 40, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. But he's
brilliant.
He's punching.
He's punching. They're both well on heat as well. And again, this is the rule that you just don't break when you're in horror films. You don't have sex. And Michael, again, is standing there watching them. And as you said earlier, it's so true. And he's kind of toying with them. And he's playing with them, waiting for his moment to kill them both. And it's so good that when they go up to the bedroom and they kind of, obviously they have sex and everything like that, and you know they're going to do it. This is the kind of thing that happens in Halloween, Friday the 13th. You get the kids breaking all of the rules. They're smoking in bed. She sends Tommy down to get a beer. And
in the dark.
And the only light he turns on is the fridge light. And when he sees the door open, and when you see Michael come at him out of that cupboard, and the fact, and this is what's equally as scary and really eerie, when Tommy is quite a big guy in this. I don't know whether he's a jock, that's never said, but he's quite a big guy. And when he's lifted off the floor, about 6-8 inches off the floor, looking at Michael, you can see the fear on his face. And you don't see anything. You just see him smash a massive kitchen knife into his chest. And he remains hanging from the floor. And the way Michael, and again, this is explained really well in the documentary, just looks at him, tilting his head, is really eerie. It's like a cat bringing a mouse in or something like that. And he keeps
tilting his head, doesn't he? Like he's fascinated with his creation.
That's so eerie. I'd never ever seen anything like it, and since I've never seen anything like that either. Of there's just no vocals. There's no effort. That he just pins him up against the wall and stares at him as if look, that's what a body looks like when he's off the ground with a knife in his chest. And from that horror, the brilliant scene of when you've got Linda in bed and you've got Michael comes up with a cloth over his head with holes cut in it with his glasses on and just stands there. I mean, it's so funny for so many reasons.
Before that, Stu, like when you look at the knife that he presents in shot, it's about 8 inches, and then you look at the victim pinned against the wall. You think, well, the chest is 6 inches. You've got 2 inches of knife potentially in the woodwork, in the cupboard and that. There's no way that would have held his weight. So it was a bit weird. It was a bit annoying.
In 12 inches, to be honest. That's the only inches I know.
Of course you do, yeah. Stew the foot. So that was You could tell there was no way that was going to happen, But anyway, going back to what you were saying about the cloth, which was
They pay homage to that death, don't they, in the 2018 version as well?
Yeah, it is.
Do they?
Yeah.
I need to see that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And again, this is a bit that you would have liked, Paul, that when she's being strangled and you've got the sex noises they're supposed to sound like, and you've got Laurie just making out she's playing games. I mean, it's terrible. It's the worst strangle. The deaths in this are comical. They really are.
They are.
It's so funny. And she's being strangled. I mean, Michael has such a good sense of humour. Putting that sheet over his head and cutting the holes in it is brilliant. And the fact that what makes it weird is he walks into the room. Obviously, he's Michael. He doesn't speak. And he picks the phone up. And it's interesting for one reason that Linda didn't think it was strange that Tommy didn't say a word. And also that Michael picks the phone up to listen to Jamie Lee Curtis's voice. I find that really, really weird that he does that. Weird in a creepy way, not weird in a stupid way. That it kind of gives you a sense of that he, in this film, he really is going for. He's got some kind of curiosity about her for some reason in this film. And I like that. I think it's really good and it's played out well. And from here, I mean, you've got 20 minutes left of this film. And it does go pretty quick. You've got Loomis, who's trying to find her, or trying to find Michael, and he's running the streets helplessly. And for once, he actually spots the car that was taken from the sanitarium earlier. I mean, it's taken him fucking ages. How the police didn't see this? How many police are there in Haddonfield? There must be only one police officer.
I think there is one. He's one, and no one will phone him because he's a pervert.
No one will go to him with any problems related to children.
You're like, oh God, we should call the sheriff. Please don't. I don't want him anywhere near my kids.
And this is when the ante does step up because for once and at last, and for Christ's sake, you've got Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis, actually thinks something's wrong for once. I mean, it's taken 3 of her friends to be butchered, but she actually starts to get the gist of what's happening. And I love this in horror films. And again, watching it as a youngster, it's terrifying. But you've got Judith, so it is his sister's grave. And you've got Annie laying there on the bed. There's a pumpkin and she's dead. You've got the grave above her head, which is obviously terrifying. So that's enough to initially make her scream. And then she goes back to the cupboard. And then you've got another body. You've got Tommy who falls down. And then she opens the cupboard. And then you've got Linda in the cupboard, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Linda's gone cross-eyed.
Yeah, with the cross-eyed expression. And it's just so funny. And it's brilliant. And again, I'll refer back to this documentary of when conveniently Jamie Lee Curtis is leaning against the door. Rather than running out of the house, she leans against the door and it's dark. The way they got that soft light onto Michael's mask, looking at her through that or from that darkness is so fucking creepy. And isn't it convenient that he misses her when he goes to stab her? Everyone else he nails apart from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's awful, but I do
Hang
like
a
the shot.
man
Oh,
on a
it's
door, and
yeah.
you can strangle someone with a phone, but can't cut someone when they're stood there.
When she goes to stab him in the eye, and he's got a mask on, he hits him in the eye, and that's with the coat hanger.
What's that? Is that in what the in the cupboard?
In the cupboard, yeah.
On,
yeah, later on.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play darts against her, honestly. She's she's a pretty good shot. But it's terrible because she does run around. She gets out of the house and she's being chased. And there's no one who wants to help her. It's as if this is a daily event in this street that someone's being chased by a psychopath and that no one wants to answer the door because no one goes to her aid, do they?
No, I think everyone's gone out.
Or do you think so?
Out for the night. Yeah.
Must admit, I wouldn't answer the door. There's no way that would happen. No way in hell.
No? Oh, okay.
No.
What, Halloween?
If someone was saying, knocking on my door, shouting out, there's somebody who wants to kill me, I'd be like, no, nothing.
Best of luck.
Yeah, see you later.
Good luck, mate.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't want to kill me, I'm absolutely fine. But it's great because she goes back to the address where Tommy is, and she's banging on the window, telling Tommy. She doesn't actually swear at him. I'd be losing my rag. The speed Tommy comes down the stairs, he's so bloody slow. That she obviously, firstly, she should apologise to Tommy, saying you are right that there was someone out there, and the phones are all down. And it's good when she takes that knitting needle out, and she stabs him with that knitting needle. I mean, it's brilliant. But again, this is what you were going back to, Paul. She makes these noises. I mean, maybe I'd make those noises if I was in a fight with a psychopath. I honestly don't know.
I'm not sure you would. Yeah.
She's just whimpering, and it's just so annoying.
So much. Oh yeah, it was annoying.
Yeah, you couldn't watch this with the volume up too high because I think someone next door was thinking I'm probably watching like a soft porn film because it was really, really irritating. And again, this where the trope came of when you've got someone who's a real nutter, that you drop the knife on the floor, you don't stab them again and again, you just stab them once and leave it and walk away.
Yeah. Oh, I've killed him. No, you've not.
Yeah, it's so irritating.
Yeah. That's the thing, though, isn't it? And I think this is where this has come from, isn't it? I think that tropiness of, I think I've got him. Just I can calm down now, and rather than running out of the house screaming, going "fucking hell, someone's tried to kill me" and all this sort of stuff, it's, you see it so often now, don't you? It's the norm.
But was this the original trope? Was this the original one where, like, she had the opportunity to go, you know what, I'm going to put 5 knives in him rather than just the one?
And it could be argued that she isn't a psychopath and she wouldn't stab them, and why would she not have to think that if she stabbed someone with a knitting needle in the eye or stab them with a kitchen knife that you'd be dead? And so she has got that as a kind of a get out. But it's brilliant though, this last bit, the fact that she is scared, and I love the fact that she does get, especially throughout all of these kind of the franchise, she does get an arc where she comes around and she's really strong. But she is a damsel in distress, and it's good that she doesn't suddenly become like Ripley from Alien, that she starts to kick his ass and stuff like that. I think it's great. I also find it amazing that he can't get in a cupboard. He can lift someone 6 foot off the ground, but he can't get in this closet.
Yeah, it took him a while, isn't it?
Yeah. He can drive a car instantly, but can't open a door.
He had such great difficulty, and it was brilliant. The fact that he's smashing through this cupboard, and you've got the hangers coming off, you've got the clothes coming off, the doors are shaking, and it's absolute mayhem. And even though he's got that mask, you can see the fury and the desperation just in his body language. And to stab him in the eye, and again, you don't see it, you just see the gesture of kind of her doing that. And there's no blood or anything, but she gets out of the cupboard. She's got this massive lightsaber knife in her hand, and yet again, second time within about 2 minutes, she drops that knife on the floor.
Yeah.
And my kids refer to this all the time of when Michael Myers, the way he's laying flat and he gets up with his back straight. And my kids do that. They do a Michael Myers when they're just playing around, and it's so good. And it's done brilliantly. The fact when she's talking to Lindsay and Tommy saying it's okay, just get out of the house, go to the Mackenzies, get the police. And behind, when you see Michael Myers get up again, you think, no way, this guy should be dead. And you think, what is going to stop him? I love this scene. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
It's creepy, isn't it? Just the way he gets up like a bloody machine.
And you think, how can
Yeah.
he's had a knife in him and a needle in his neck?
Yeah. He doesn't use his arms to get up. I think that's what's so creepy about it, that he's just laying there and he just, like, it's just like a force of nature, isn't he? That's what he is. And you've got Donald Pleasance outside, who finally kind of realize what's going on when he sees the kids running out. And you've got Jamie Lee Curtis there, naive to the fact that he's got up again, and yeah, Kenny's behind him, and you think, right now, if you die, you deserve it. You really, really deserve it. But he kind of goes to strangle her, and you've got Donald Pleasance comes up, and he does rip the mask off. And we learn throughout the Halloween films, and this is the most you actually see him without a mask on, because this is where the legend was obviously born, that when his mask is removed, it's a massive weakness to him, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they do play that on throughout this. And Donald Pleasance does a Dirty Harry and shoots him numerous times. And again, when you watch the second one straight after this, it's really funny because they lack so much continuity as to where, because out of this, Michael falls on the floor and in the garden, and it's more mud than grass. But in the second one, when they show him fall out, there's like an indentation in the floor to show the audience that this is what happened if you don't remember what happened in the first one.
That's amazing.
It's so good. And you get that line from Jamie Lee Curtis about the boogeyman, about asking if that was.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
And it's such an amazing line, the way it's said, like by Jamie Lee Curtis and with Donald Pleasance there. It's just such a good ending. And that's when you see that he's gone. And you get that tropey look on Donald Pleasance's face. It is funny. When you watch it now, it's just brilliant. All I think about is really pissed. And someone's saying, look mysterious, look mysterious. and they show the stairs. Again, they show the lounge. And it's brilliant because you've got the breathing in the background of Michael. And it looks creepy and it's done so well. And it's just such a great end to an amazing film. It really is. But yeah, I just think this end is just like no other. And when you think what this started and all the different films that followed this, of using a mask and a shape and someone who's unstoppable in all of these horror films for $300,000.
I know.
It's mental. The concept of this idea is, I mean, it's so good.
I think having watched the documentary, you appreciate, I mean, you'll probably have this, Paul, when you do watch it. You appreciate this film so much more after you watch that. You really do. Because, you know, for me now, this film isn't scary at all. But it's, you know, you've got to realise it was made in 1978.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
You know, films weren't particularly scary back then. It's full of suspense and stuff, but as the film goes on, it's so frustrating, like you've alluded to. The fact, why would you just, you know, you've stabbed him once, you sit there and drop the knife, and funnily enough, he comes back to life, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and it's like, oh, come on, you just get the fuck out, wouldn't you? You wouldn't just keep doing it, and it becomes quite frustrating.
But it's amazing that how many decades that stuck for, though, isn't it? Really, when you think, as you're right, Neil, that, and it's weird that for any youngster watching this, like when I showed my youngest, I think I showed him when he was about 9 because I wanted him to feel what I felt, and he was scared when he watched this, but now when he watches it, he'll look forward to it, and it'll be a bit of entertainment, because obviously you get desensitized. There's like was it Five Nights at Freddy's, which is probably scarier than the computer game.
Yeah.
But it's just what you don't see. And I think, as you rightly said, when you watch the documentary, when you watch 2018, and you'll enjoy this a hell of a lot more. And I think to what this gave birth to, when you sit and think about that, then you realize what an amazing film this is, and just how they're using the same things now, even in 2021, to get the same scares. And they think they're recycling, or they think they're coming up with new ideas, but they're just recycling this, really, aren't they?
Yeah, that's all they're doing. You're right. they're recycling the same old thing, and you can see every single horror film now, even like Scream and like all the stuff that's gone since, it's just a nod to this and Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, they even got a new Scream film coming out. They're so short of ideas that in a couple of months, Scream's out again. I mean, it's just insane.
But they're short. But what else can they do? You know, what else is out there?
The thing is, though, and I think this has been the case for a long time, especially for me, I'm not particularly bothered about horror films anymore, because, like you just said, it's been done, and unless you turn it into some sort of, you know, like you said, some really gory shit like Hostel, which I don't find entertaining at all. I just find it completely unnecessary. What else can you do? And
yeah,
the fact that the new Halloween's out, I will obviously watch it, and I'll look forward to watching it so I can review it. But in all honesty, if we weren't going to be reviewing it, I wouldn't bother going to the cinema to see it, because it's been done. I don't think they're going to show me anything that's new and original, because they've done it all, and that's why they keep recycling the same old stuff. And it is fantastic that it came from this particular film, and you know, hundreds of films and different types of franchises have tried to be born from this one idea, or, you know, type of thing. But it's done. It's quite sad, but ultimately you are just churning out the same stuff, just with a different person as, you know, the protagonist, and, you know, the victims that are going to be killed in potentially weird and wonderful ways. But I don't know, it's become quite boring.
No, I completely agree. I mean, Paul, do you want to kick us off with regards to best bits, worst bits? Would you recommend it, and give you a score on this, mate?
Best bit would be
Makes good listening.
Yeah, I know. The gap. Yeah, I think the best bit would be for me is like when he first comes into the scene. Is that no? The best bit is probably for me is when they arrive, or Donald Pleasance and the nurse arrives, and they've no idea what they're walking into. They've seen lunatics out in the street, or in the yard and that, and you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you see the hand through the window and stuff. But yes, that's probably the best bit. Worst bit would probably be the predictive, and I only say predictive because I've seen it in a ton of films since, but this was the original predictive males, female victims going, like I said before, is that you messing around? Because you know what's coming, you know, and it's and you can see that they've almost been given the direction to say, right, just pretend you don't know what's coming, but try to communicate with your other half, you know, and it just sounds shit to me. Before we did this, that I'd watched it, I thought I'd probably rate it 2 out of 5. But after listening to you guys, I'd probably give it a 3.5, because I'm listening to your passion about it, particularly used to, and it makes you want to watch Halloween 2 and sort of get back into the franchise again a bit. So I would probably say maybe I would say, right, yeah, I know it is, but it's a matter of getting around to doing it. So, or watching it. So I'd probably say, what should I say? 3.5. Let's say
That's fair
4.
play.
Let's say 4. Let's say 4 because I now want to see the rest of them.
Yeah. No, it's fair play. Neil, what about yourself, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I preferred my favourite out of the horror films is Friday the 13th. That's the one I first ever saw as a kid, and I've always sort of gone to that. So Halloween was never one that really piqued my interest. However, I have seen it and I did enjoy it for what it was. But having watched the documentary, I appreciate this film on a completely different level. The fact that they had 300 grand and they've made 70 million, and the crazy little things they had to do to try and make this work, and the fact that it was a tiny cast and crew, and it was the original idea of it all. I really do appreciate this film, and I recommend it to anyone to watch. Yes, it isn't scary anymore. We've been desensitized to violence and all these other things, and it is predictable, like Paul said, because you've seen it. But you've got to realize that this is where it came from. And it's quite a magical thing when you think about it in relation to cinema, and the fact that at the time cinema was on its arse. No one wanted to go to the theatre anymore, and he had to pretty much release this film by himself in a town to see if it would actually go anywhere, and thankfully it did. It started slowly and it built up, and he ended up selling tickets everywhere, and because of the cleverness of the name, it became a worldwide sensation. So I really do appreciate it. I think the best bit is the fact that I know that Loomis was pissed throughout most of this film. And when you watch his acting in this and you think, oh, he's playing a really quirky character, it's just the fact he's pissed up. I think that's the best bit about this film, because it's just hilarious. And the special effects and stuff, the fact that the mask was born from William Shatner's face that they just basically pulled apart. And the worst bits are it's going to be the tropiness that we know now. Obviously it wasn't at the time a trope, but it is, isn't it, where he's dead, I'm just going to sit on the sofa, that kind of stuff. That even as a first, I wish it never happened, because it's caused it to happen a million times over in every other horror film. So that's my worst, but I'd definitely recommend it. I'd give it a good 4 out of 5 and watch it. I wouldn't watch any more of them other than maybe the 2018 one, or the Rob Zombie one. But that's what I think.
No, I've got to admit, I can just echo what you said, mate. I think the documentary and seeing the newer films, I think all sheds a completely different light on this. And you're right, guys. You watch this having to keep in mind that this was where it all came from, and it isn't scary, but it's just got that. For me, it's got that nostalgia, and it's what you don't see. And how can you create something back then so scary, and you don't actually see anything? And I think it's so good. It was so original, and the fact that they've ripped this apart, other films have, in their own kind of homage to just how good this was, and the lack of ideas they've got these days. It's a brilliant film. And the newer films, I think the more I watch the newer films, the more I enjoy them. And it's I can't wait till you see them to hear your thoughts of especially you, Paul, the 2018, and when you both watched the Halloween Kills. But I just really, really enjoy this film, and it's got a special place for me. And it's interesting when we didn't speak about this, Neil, but you make a really good point of what kind of side of the fence you're on. It's like Sean Connery or Roger Moore, that it depends on when you were born and what you're introduced to first, just by pure luck or circumstance, as in, are you Camp Crystal Lake or are you Haddonfield? And Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, where do you stand? And they're both really entertaining films. And the original kind of Halloween films and original Friday the 13th film, especially the twist of was Jason Voorhees doing it, or was it his mum, and the way it kind of turned out and stuff like that. It was really, really good, and they are really entertaining with some really good deaths. It's like Final Destination of how is this person going to die? You just know they're going to die, which brings the entertainment. And I'm a full-on 100% Michael Myers, and I'd give this 4.5 out of 5. Bordering on a 5 because it's just, for its time, it was the perfect horror film for me, and it just brings back good memories. I'd recommend it to anyone. The best bits were the non-speaking parts of Michael, the hiding in behind a hedge and looking at her when she's at school, and it's just those things really freak me out and still excite me when I watch them now. They're not the worst parts. The funny parts are the deaths, especially the deaths of Linda, especially the deaths of Annie. When the look on their faces is brilliant. I mean, not many people die in this film. And compared to the other films, when he goes on a massive and he kills a whole fire brigade, it's just incredible. So it's just brilliant, and I recommend it. It's just such a good film. And if you do get the chance, whilst they are on, because they do come off quick, as we learned through The Matrix, that whilst it's on Netflix to view, just try it. I know it's hard. I mean, I seem to be able to watch films all day, and people always say to me, what else do you do in your life apart from watch films? Because I seem to be able to watch everything. And I've watched all of the Halloween films, and some of them are shit. God, they're terrible. And it breaks my heart. It really does. But the Rob Zombie ones are really good. Really enjoy those. I think they're great. I think they bring a real fresh, kind of original taste of violence, which is good. But yeah, completely recommend it. So it's been really good talking about this, I have to say. It's been a long time, and I'm surprised we haven't done it before, to be honest. So
yeah, I'm surprised we did the 2018 version before this one.
Well, we always do things the wrong way around. I mean, when we did Rush Hour, we did Rush Hour 3 first or something. Then we did number 1. I don't know, but
yeah.
But next, we should get the gang together, and we'll have The Matrix. And what's the last one called? Is it Revolutions?
Revolutions, I think.
Yeah, so
Revolutions. Yeah.
Which is going to be really, really interesting to watch. Again, it's going to be a very divisive pod, and it's going to be an entertaining one. You can check everything out as well. The first Matrix, the second one, the original, the Halloween 2018. That's all on the queue to watch on all good podcasting platforms as well. So, is there anything else from you guys before we go?
No,
just thank you for listening.
Great choice, and thank you.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Well, join us next week. We will be in wherever they film. I was trying to think of the land. Where is it where they do the Matrix? What is it called? I was going to say Ragnarok, but that's
it is the Matrix.
It's the Matrix. Completely different franchise, isn't it? So sadly,
it's not Thor, I'm afraid. As much as I love Thor, it's not Thor.
We'll be back in the Matrix next week. We'll play out with some more Halloween music, and join us. And you take care. Goodbye.